everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic back once again, and this time we're taking a trip down under to take a look at what happened at WWE's latest PLE. That's right, it's time for what happened at Elimination Chamber. This time we had a pre-show match to talk about, a women's tag team contest pitting the champions, the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, against the challengers Candice LeRae and the local Australian legend Indi Hartwell. And I'm not saying that sarcastically, the crowd are really hot for Indi early on in the match. There's "We want Indi" chants whenever she's not the legal participant in the match. Pretty quickly though, Candice becomes the face in peril and the match becomes about teasing this hot tag to Indi. Finally she gets it and runs wild on the champion. She spinebusters one of them onto the other but can't quite pick up the 3 count. A little bit later on, Indi and Candice go for like an assisted old school type setup with one on the ropes and the other one holding her arm, but then Kairi pulls Indi out of the way and Candice takes a spill from the rope down to the canvas below. That sets her up for the Kabuki Warriors double team finisher, the kind of Russian leg sweep kind of thing into the, you know, the big elbow drop. You know what I'm talking about. And that's all she wrote. The Kabuki Warriors win and retain the women's tag team titles. Poor Indi, but she gets a nice standing ovation with Candice after the match. The first match of the main portion of the show is the Women's Elimination Chamber match, determining, of course, who goes on to face either Rhea Ripley or Nia Jax at WrestleMania. The competitors are Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and Tiffany Stratton. It's Becky and Naomi who start. It's quite a technical back and forth start, actually, and Becky gets a disarmer attempt, but Naomi slips out. They head to the outside, Naomi gets thrown into the wall, but hangs on, and then drops down with a split leg drop onto Becky Lynch. Hang on, everyone, it's Tiffy time, as Tiffany Stratton is in next and displays some very impressive offense. At one point, she gets both opponents on her shoulders like John Cena. Liv Morgan is next in and launches Tiffany into the side of various pods. Becky then hits a nasty suplex on Tiffany on the outside and locks on the disarmer through a gap in the wall. We get our first very high-risk move of several in this match as Naomi hits a very nice blockbuster off a chamber pod, but then immediately gets rolled up by Tiffany, and Naomi's the first one out. Raquel Rodriguez is next in and she just starts throwing women around. Liv, Becky and Tiffany all team up on her though and pile on top 1-2, but Raquel kicks out and throws all of them off. Bianca Belair is the last one to make her entrance and she runs wild for a while. Raquel ends up laid out over the top rope and Liv Morgan hits a huge senton off a pod down into the ring below. Now Becky and Tiffany end up on top of the pod and Tiffany throws Becky off before nailing a terrifying swanton onto everyone below. Tiffany and Liv end up in the ring. Tiffany goes for the prettiest moonsault ever, but Liv Morgan stops her and nails the Oblivion off the top. She makes the cover and Tiffany Stratton is out after a very impressive showing, possibly a breakout on the main roster, I suppose. And interestingly, this went down so well with the fans that Liv was, I think, booed for eliminating her. Very nice stuff from Tiffany there, a great performance. Now Raquel Rodriguez gets on top with a double choke slam, but then Bianca Belair grabs her from behind and hits the KOD, and we're down to the final 3. We get 3-way action for a while, momentum shifting between the last competitors in the match until Liv Morgan counters the KOD and pins Bianca Belair with a roll-up. Huge win there for Liv Morgan, but she stands up immediately into a manhandle slam from Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch wins the Women's Elimination Chamber, which I thought was really good start to finish. Very enjoyable indeed. Next up, we have the tag team title match with the Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor, defending against the New Catch Republic of Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Dominic Mysterio is out with the champions and takes the mic during the ring announcements, but obviously he just gets drowned out by the live crowd. The New Catch Republic get a pop by jumping Dom and kicking him out of the ring, and the match starts with a big ol' brawl. Now at this point, the sun has gone down in Australia, and I don't know if there's a lighting issue, but looking at it, the babyface corner of the ring looks very dark. Could it be symbolism perhaps? No, it's not. Tyler gets the better of Finn Balor for a little while, but then Priest tags in and the heels take control. Dom even gets a cheap shot in from the outside with the referee distracted. But Dunne gets the hot tag and hits a big moonsault to the outside of the ring. Tyler gets beaten down a bit more, but then gets Priest up for the big extended airplane spin. Then Pete comes in and hits the bitter end on Finn Balor, 1-2, but Dirty Dom pulls Balor's foot under the ropes. Dominic gloats on the outside, but the referee catches him and throws him out. She ejects him. Yeah, get out of there, Dom. Dom. Dom complains and protests this decision, and at this point, the feed cut out for us for a few seconds, at least it did on the network seemingly, but Dom gets knocked off the apron while complaining when the feed comes back, and then back in the ring, Dunn ends up snapping the fingers of Balor. The faces hit a double Tyler driver, but Priest breaks the pinfall by pulling Tyler out of the ring. Then the New Catch Republic isolate Priest in the ring, and both of them stomp on his fingers before hitting a double bop and bang punch combination. Then the Birminghammer, great double team finisher name, 1, 2, but Priest kicks out. They take Priest up top, but then Balor interferes from the outside and delays the move long enough for Priest to regain control and hit an avalanche double choke slam. Balor tags in, becomes the legal man, hits the coup de grace on Pete Dunne, 1, 2, 3, and the champions retain. I think that was quite a predictable result, but the match was very good start to finish. This has been an excellent start to the show. Next up, it's the big non-wrestling segment of the night, the Grayson Waller Effect. But we start with Austin Theory in the ring, who cuts a heel promo ahead of the segment. He insults Australian cuisine, nice one mate, classic heel stuff, before introducing Big Grayson. Here comes Waller, who is actually in full babyface mode for now, doing a shoey with Australian UFC fighter Tai Tuivasa at ringside and leading the crowd in a chant of Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. He brings out Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, but before Cody comes out, Waller lays in a bit of an insult, saying he's not able to finish the story. So Waller's playing a bit of a tweener here. He's the hometown guy, or home nation guy, but he's still a bit despicable. Cody asks what people want to talk about, but Grayson says, whoa, first we need to acknowledge our tribal chief Roman Reigns. Grayson asks Seth who he wants to face at WrestleMania, and Seth says he has no idea who's going to win the Elimination Chamber, but he's got a bit of a secret to tell us. He is days away from being medically cleared, and whoever wins the chamber doesn't stand a chance because he's Seth freaking Rollins. This gets a big pop, and Seth says it himself into the mic. He goes, oh, big pop, which is a bit of a shot there at Roman Reigns' comment a few SmackDowns ago when he mocked Seth, saying that he got no pop. Seth's going, no, I get a big pop. Cody is now asked about his WrestleMania situation and says, look, I've always been a fan of The Rock, but if there are any Cody crybabies here tonight, make yourselves known, because The Rock called his fans crybabies. Everybody obviously cheers Cody for this and admits that, yes, we are all Cody crybabies. Waller calls Rock the people's champion. Cody takes issue with that and says that that might have been true at one time in the past, but surely to be the people's champion, one has to actually be around the people. Cody has an announcement of his own and says he is free until WrestleMania, and he wants to wrestle The Rock one-on-one, anytime, any place. Now, Seth interrupts at this point and says, look, Cody, you know when it comes to the bloodline, there's no such thing as one-on-one, so if and when The Rock accepts his challenge, Seth will be there to have his back. Very interesting developments. Then Theory steps in and says, it doesn't matter what Cody thinks. Theory runs through a few of The Rock's catchphrases. Seth gets sick of this, grabs Theory, and slams him into part of the set. Cody hits the Cody cutter, and the pair look at Grayson Waller as if to say, are you going to intervene? Are you going to do anything? And Waller kind of shrugs and just lets it happen. Seth hits the big stomp onto Theory, and that is the end of the segment. Next up, it's time for the men's Elimination Chamber match, which means that Rhea Ripley is main eventing in her home country. This one features Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, LA Knight, Bobby Lashley, and Logan Paul. Logan taunts Owens in a pod while he makes his entrance, and Owens goes mad, headbutting the pod wall several times. Save your energy, Kevin. Drew and LA Knight start things off with Drew taking control, and the crowd taunt him by chanting CM Punk. So Drew does a lovely bit of improv, going for the GTS, but Knight reverses it and ends up driving Drew's head into Logan's pod several times, while Paul looks on amused. Knight then does it to Owens' pod wall as well, ramming Drew's head into there, and Owens hits the wall from his side as well, coinciding with Drew's head hitting the surface of the pod. It's like a impromptu double team attack, I guess. Kev is the next one in and runs wild. He even mockingly does Orton's pose in Orton's corner of the ring. Drew then hits a double crossbody onto both opponents to regain control of the match, but Bobby Lashley is the next man in, and he takes it to McIntyre. Bobby dominates for a while, but then Owens is the one who finds himself in control as the next man enters, and it's the Viper, Randy Orton, who hits Kev with the draping DDT on the outside. However, around this point of the match, he gets nailed by Bobby Lashley, and that seems to injure Orton's back, but he sells it for the rest of the match, so I think it was kind of part of the story. If it wasn't, and it's a legit back injury, Orton did really well incorporating that into his exhaustion as the match wore on. But that does lead me to think that maybe this was all part of the plan. Logan Paul is the last man in, and he has killed time by writing Kevin sucks and a little portly stick man on the wall of his pod. Owens is not amused and is eagerly waiting right outside the pod. Logan tries to keep it closed as it slides open, but Kev overpowers him and bursts inside and beats him down. He then sends him partly through the wall of a different pod, but then Lashley sends Owens through a pod wall and then spears Logan viciously through another one and gets a "thank you Bobby" chant for that. But as he turns around, he gets hit with a claymore from Drew McIntyre on the outside. Back inside the ring, Lashley tries to get the Hurt Lock locked in on LA Knight once he's recovered, but Drew again hits him with a claymore and pins him to get the first elimination of the match. Knight starts to gain momentum and hits the BFT to both Orton and Drew, but then AJ Styles runs in and beats LA Knight down with a chair. He flew all the way to Australia because he hates LA Knight so much. The referees try to get him to stop, but he hits the Styles Clash on LA Knight onto a chair before leaving the ring. Drew crawls over and makes the opportunistic cover for the cheap elimination of LA Knight. Kevin Owens and Logan Paul continue their brawl, which Owens wins before hitting a swanton on Randy Orton. He hits one to Drew as well, but gets nothing but knees. But then he goes for a claymore, Drew does, and that's countered into a pop-up powerbomb. Logan tries to ambush Kev, but gets hit with a stunner. Randy goes for an RKO attempt. Kevin counters that into a stunner attempt, but Randy counters that into an RKO, and that's enough for 3. Kevin Owens is out, and we're down to the last 3. Randy and Drew have a big stare down and trade right hands, while meanwhile, Logan heads up top to the top of a pod and flies off with a crossbody onto Drew. He then pulls the brass knuckles out of his tights and poses with them all cocky, only to get taken out with an RKO out of nowhere and pinned instantly. It's comedy! And Logan Paul is out, and the crowd are absolutely delighted with that, obviously. It's now down to Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. Randy hits his DDT and gets all fired up. He sets up for the RKO, but his back is slowing him down, and Drew counters this into a spinebuster, further injuring the back. Drew sets up for the Claymore, but Randy collapses back down to the canvas in pain. Drew isn't impressed and stands over Randy, waiting for him to slowly get up. But then Randy hits an instant RKO. It looks like Orton's about to win, but then Logan Paul runs back into the ring. He never left the chamber after being eliminated. He clocks Randy with the brass knuckles. Drew makes the cover. 1, 2, 3. And, well, this has obviously set up Drew versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight title, but has it also set up Logan Paul versus the Viper? Before the main event, Triple H comes out to cut a little promo and just basically thank everybody in Australia for being part of it and for watching. And he announces the official attendance of, it's like 52,500. And that's it. Thank you, Paul. He didn't call out The Rock or anything, so there we go. And finally, the main event for the Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley defending against Nia Jax. Rhea obviously gets a massive reception and looks genuinely happy to be there as well, in her own kind of aggressive Rhea Ripley way. Rhea is on top early on until Nia just knocks her down because she's bigger and stronger, and she hits a senton. Nia also does a stink face. Let's all acknowledge the bloodline. Get your wands in the air. Nia locks in a stretch muffler and then a half crab, and a little bit after that a torture rack, really varying the submissions and pressing the advantage. Rhea eventually fights back, but gets drilled with consecutive power bombs and a big leg drop to the back of the neck for a 2 count. Nia goes for the Annihilator, but Rhea avoids it and hits a double stomp in the corner. She heads up top with a big missile dropkick for a near fall of her own. A little bit later on, Rhea goes back up top, but Nia catches up with her and hits an avalanche Samoan drop, but again it only gets 2. So Nia again goes for the Annihilator, but Rhea catches her in the electric chair position and drops her face first into the top turnbuckle. Now Rhea goes up top again and hits a frog splash for 2. She sets up for the Riptide, but gets thrown out of the ring, where she retakes control and tries to powerbomb Nia through the announce table, but the challenger counters it into a Samoan drop onto the announce table, which doesn't budge an inch. It looks nasty. Fair play to Nia, who then balances precariously on one of the announce team's chairs and elbow drops Rhea Ripley through the table. Back in the ring, she hits the Annihilator, but Rhea gets the big kick out at 2. They both head up top, and Rhea hits a huge superplex. Now she's fired up. All the momentum is back with the champion, who nails a kick to the head and the Riptide for the win. Rhea Ripley is still Women's World Champion, and will obviously now go on to face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. This match was pretty much what it should have been, as Rhea celebrates with her family in the front row. Just a come-from-behind babyface win for the hometown hero. Home nation hero. I keep saying hometown. Australia is literally the size of a continent. Thank you very much for listening. Leave your thoughts and opinions in that comment section down below on any of these matches or the show as a whole. And yeah, thanks again for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic. Thank you to Owen on the edit for this video, and I'll see you very soon.